Hello everybody, Stadia gamers and listeners out there. Welcome to episode 25 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. My name's Chris, one of your hosts, and I'm joined live to my right.
Boom, live baby with Tom.
And to his right.
Hello there, I'm Richie.
Are you a question?
I thought you were going to, you usually say my name first. I was like, I'm waiting for this.
But we're in the same room.
Yeah.
And also joined by Richie to Tom's right. Say hello again, Richie, so people know that you're in the room with us.
Hello again, Richie.
I thought he was going to say hello, gorgeous.
Hello, gorgeous.
Hello, gorgeous.
A compliment every now and again wouldn't help. So we are joined together now in holy matrimony.
Okay, that's a good start.
I'm married to Tom last night. It was weird.
It was a very
sorry, Holly.
It was a very complex live stream, but yes, we recorded about 5 hours worth of content last night live. Thank you for joining us, everybody in the chat. We played some Trials, we played some Metro Exodus. And we did a wrap on our Tomb Raider Definitive Edition playthrough as well. So if you want to go check those out over
It's
on our YouTube
done.
channel.
It's over.
You say that like it was arduous, but I had a great time.
No, I loved it. It just, it's just the number of deaths haunts me.
Yeah, and the slight panic when we thought we'd record about 4 hours of footage.
Yeah,
we'll get into that.
We'll get to that at some point.
But yes, so thank you for tuning in and listening to us on episode 25. So we've made it to a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
Wow.
Who'd have thought it? That's another little mini milestone. But yeah, so we've made it. We're here on a Sunday morning, recording in person. So the audio, if it does sound any different, we can either apologize in advance or it may sound better. So we'll find out in
let us know in the comments.
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
Tweet at us at Sounds of Stadia.
Tweet at, yeah, definitely. But so for those who are new to the platform and the podcast in general, three guys get together to talk about all things Stadia and gaming every week. We put this up live on YouTube over on our channel. We also put it on podcast platforms around the world as well. So tune in, check us out. Thank you for listening. But we've had quite a busy week this week, a very busy week. So amongst all the pandemic news going off, we'll try and not delve into that as much. I don't want to give it a name. I feel like everyone speaks about it that much now. I don't want to actually give it its airspace.
It shall not be named.
It's almost like YouTube. I don't want to give it the clicks. I don't want to give it the likes. I don't want to give it the attention because it's rampant. Everyone knows about it, so we won't name it. The he who shall not be named.
Yeah.
It's the Voldemort curse. But we might as well go straight to the news because, as I said, it's been a busy week. And Tom, would you like to get us started in person with?
Yeah, let us actually address the elephant in the room with the super sexy special COVID-19 story segment, aka the flus.
I didn't read that until now. And it was like, as I've just did a full piece on not mentioning it. And then I glance at the laptop and it says, the super sexy special COVID-19 story segment.
You done goofed.
So, always read the... I didn't expect the title of our longest running segment to change on episode 25.
Yeah, that was my doing last week.
I appreciate it, Richie. I appreciate it here. I was just sitting slightly chuckling to myself while Chris was rambling on about it. I was like, does he realise what's about to happen?
I was wondering, are you actually going to do it normal or are you just going to read
it? No. You put it in there, I say it. It's very scripted podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
Scripted.
But yeah, should we get onto the news then, gents? Let's talk about what has been happening in the world of Stadia this week.
Yeah, so biggest story, which I think we all anticipated once GDC fell, once many of the other conferences and things around the world kind of dropped off the last week. It was inevitable, but it was confirmed.
That Monopoly is coming to Stadia in April.
That's a new story skipping ahead. Yes, we had E3, the big electronics expo that takes place every year over in the United States, has been cancelled or suspended, I suppose. They've cancelled the event, but no doubt it will go ahead in some shape or form.
Interesting. I know from reading things online, I know things. And E3 has slowly been dying out over recent years. So it'll be interesting to know what impact this actually has.
Sony pulled out last year and had already confirmed that they weren't going to be at this one before the flu that shall not be named.
Does that mean Sony started this? They knew they
No.
But
But yeah, as you said before, E3 was it was doomed to be cancelled once the pandemic took over. We've seen countless events across the entire globe. This again, just to reiterate, I'm sure everybody is up to date with the news, but this is affecting everything everywhere. And as gamers, we have to accept that is going to have an impact on everything that we normally get to experience. I mean, it's a nice little start to the summer holidays for me. Usually, I loved watching E3.
Yeah, it's very much like the gamers' Christmas, essentially, where you never get so much condensed news about one of your passions from so many different companies in one place.
Yeah. I tend to go on like media blackout around E3 because I want to watch the developer conferences just to see. It's usually that one more thing at the end. I'm listening. Okay, there's an update on that game. This game's coming out that we know we've got a date there. Oh, and one more thing. He's something you weren't expecting. It's like, yes, give me other things.
We're not going to get Keanu Reeves on stage again this year.
Yeah. I think that was going to be unlikely again anyway.
Yeah, you never know with this Project Red. Do you really?
Yeah. When does Cyberpunk come out again?
September.
Oh, they might have done just over because it wasn't delayed.
Yeah.
Well, Keanu, you have to go back out there because
we need you more than ever.
You're the only one who can save us.
But yes, I similar to you, Richie. I took it as a point of every June. I'd make a point of trying to bank all of the shows, and I'd watch them in my own time, and I'd try and stay off the news, so it was kind of caught up in the moment of that last big announcement or release date or revive interest in games that I've totally forgot about. Because you've got to remember, this is the opportunity where a lot of games that kind of fly under the radar for a year at a time, they get their kind of rekindled energy where it's, that's coming out later this year, or they drop some gameplay, drop some news, or they introduce another aspect of the game that really does revitalise public interest in something that's maybe been dormant for quite a while.
There's always all sorts of gaming conventions throughout the years, like things like GDC, like Paris Games Week, like the PAXs and all sorts. But E3 is the one where almost universally every gamer has got their eyes on this one place at one time to see what is coming.
Yeah, it's the culmination of everything, isn't it? And again, like we joke about it in other contexts, but it's almost like the gaming cinematic universe unites, doesn't it? It's the Avengers of the video game conferences. Yeah. That's what it is.
And people forget, because we're usually talking from a consumer point of view. E3's got its roots is not as a consumer show. It's a developer and publisher show. It's a convention for these people who work in the industry to get together.
Yeah. If you think a lot of the pertinent news that comes about games comes from the journalists that all get press passes and they all get early access and behind closed doors time with these games well ahead of launch. A lot of the great news stories, and you find out the nitty-gritty details about your favourite up-and-coming title. You get to find out about like how it controls, how they've changed the sequel iterated on the previous version, and how the dynamics of the AI and the graphics, and you just get loads of juicy stories off the back of it. From like bigger sites like IGN, but I think a big thing we need to consider with E3 closing as well is the smaller companies, the more independent news channels, and the influencers use E3 as a chance to get these hands-on experiences behind closed doors and make content out of it. The reality is like E3 can stockpile
contacts as well for smaller developers. You might meet your future publisher there. You've got this game. You might be going to E3 to pitch your game to a handful of publishers.
Yeah, on your little market stall in the expo hall and everything. But I think for influencers, it gives you that chance to stockpile hours and hours of content and stories that you can take your notes, you can take your recordings. I know sometimes you're allowed to capture actual footage at the event. You take that back, and then that's your next 2-3 months worth of content about upcoming games that become more relevant when the kind of launch date to that game creeps around.
Yeah, it's a real shame actually to see E3 getting cancelled because of the effect it is going to have on all businesses in everything within the industry.
It's the amount of time and effort and money. There's be so many people who put so much effort into their segment, even if it's just their segment of a 5-minute window on like an Xbox stage. They've got this game, they've cut the trailer for us. And now that's not going to get the same. Well, that trailer will probably still come out.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to get thousands and millions of people tuning in live to watch your game and have that moment.
Yeah,
as much.
Absolutely. So, interestingly, quick question to you guys: how did you find out about the E3 cancellation? What would you say is your source for this? Because for me, it was a tweet from Devolver Digital. which came out well ahead of the E3 cancellation announcement, and slowly from there, a lot of actual dev teams started posting their own little things about it.
I think I saw the early report on Devolver Digital, but I didn't know that would have like the knock-on domino effect it would. But then I suppose looking back in hindsight, they were the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. They clearly had an early briefing behind closed doors that this was going to happen. They just made their partners and business contacts aware ahead of time, which is rightly so. They're not going to hold this news back by another day or two when their business deals need to know ahead of time.
They've probably known for a while. I guess like E3 probably discussing internally and with their key partners like Devolver, who do have a big stage presence, about the potential of cancellation. They've probably decided to pull the plug themselves before E3 probably finalised decisions. Like, no, we know the way this is going. Let's just pull the plug and change track. Earlier than later.
I think with all breaking news, someone has to go first.
But I think it was Devolver for me as well.
Yeah, and then once we had Devolver say that, then it was confirmed like not long after. I think
they kind of had to.
Get ahead.
You can't. Once the cat's out of the bag, you might as well just follow up straight away.
Yeah, that's what it is. You've got to address the situation before it becomes a mass hysteria of questions. Really,
my guess would be the ESA wanted to get ahead of people thinking it was cancelled for other reasons, because as you mentioned, Tom, E3 has been dwindling of recent, and people are concerned that it's not. They need to either drastically change the format, or it may actually not be. It may not have been around much longer with or without a pandemic impacting it as well.
Sony's the big one recently, but EA don't have an E3 presence anymore. They do stuff around the event, but not actually at E3.
They have EA Play beforehand, don't they, on like a different place, like a different.
Like Nintendo don't really have a stage presence anymore. They have a floor presence, but they tend to put just a connector.
Yeah. Well, this is the ironic thing that it's being cancelled and that they're saying they're going to switch over to a global digital platform. My hope is that the ESA and the partners at E3 keep that in some kind of scheduled content, because now everyone's free to pull together YouTube videos and drop them at any given time throughout the year now. They're no longer constricted to you go at 11 o'clock, you go at 12 o'clock, you'll be on stage with thingy. And my worry is the news, all this exciting game news we're used to getting condensed into like 3 hours a day over 4 days is now 11 o'clock GMT time, 2 o'clock, and it's all
It's also very difficult to actually try to get the developers and publishers to agree to stick with that as well, because what you're basically saying is don't post it on your own channels and get all of the views and the likes. Give it to us so we can get all of the views and the likes, and then that becomes very, very difficult.
This is when playing nice with others, when you're all at the same event and you have to put on a fake smile and shake hands, works perfectly fine in person when you're all under the same roof. When you're on a global scale, you've all got these videos ready to drop at any given moment, and say Xbox go, right, here's ours. Red alert bells go at PlayStation. Drop our content. They're trying to push this game. They're trying to take the narrative in the global space. And the reality is now it's all on a digital platform. Sony can, or whoever else, Nintendo can just counteract that within seconds by dropping their own video to take the market share, to take the interest, to take that screen time. And it could become a dogfight out there with everyone just, once that kind of like that flare to start the race goes, if it's not controlled, it could be not a scary time, but like the news is going to be all over the place.
It's got interesting implications, that, because one, it could be good for consumers because more information is coming out, but then also it could be sometimes too much information is coming out. Information is coming out too soon, so like people because then you get into these sort of like news cycles where the same game is getting teased year after year after year after year after year, but you never seem to get your hands on it, and you kind of burn out by it. That's what I did with Death Stranding. It's like it was every couple of months to be something new, little tidbit, and it's like it just didn't give itself time to breathe. So by the time that Death Stranding came out, we'd had a lot of talk about it with no substance, and I was just bored of it.
Yeah,
I was bored of the game before I even got hands on.
Yeah, so there we have it. Really, E3 cancelled for 2020. We there's not a lot anybody can do about that, unfortunately. But hopefully, this isn't the end for it.
I think I can see E3 almost scaling back to how it used to be, because it's moved more towards the consumer side there. And I think this is probably the reasons why other companies have been pulling out, because it's more about getting the fans into the convention rather than what Sony probably one is meeting up with developers, meeting up with publishers, that sort of thing. They might scale back that way.
Yeah, I suppose from a positive standpoint, it gives them a good chance to reevaluate the business approach without spending. I'm sure the whole event is insured. You'd like to think something on that scale is covered by their insurance company. So they've not lost out on too much money, because I know that ESA financially relies on donations and support from people who are part of these corporate kind of shareholder deals. They don't have any real sponsorship money that comes in aside from the event. And if the event's cancelled, that money must dry up somewhere. But they did say in a statement that we thank everyone who shared their views on reimagining E3 this year. We look forward to bringing you E3 2021 as a reimagined event that brings fans, media, and industry together in a showcase that celebrates the global video games industry. So it sounds, even from that, it's becoming more of an honourary thing anyway. It's not a business side of it. It's let's just celebrate games and bring everyone together.
Yeah, I think that's what we need. We need something like that to stick around.
Yeah, definitely.
But I definitely think we can agree it's probably the right thing to do. Yeah. I've listened to many gaming podcasts where they always joke about saying that all these events where people meet and they're getting hands-on with controllers and, God forbid, VR headsets where you're putting these shared devices so close to your eyeballs.
Well, it's just when you're packing thousands of people into a convention centre.
And you're relying on them washing their hands, and you're standing in a queue in close proximity. And it's in the middle of summer, where the temperatures are up as well, and everyone's sweaty, and
it's the breeding ground for everything.
It just sounds like a messy place to be.
Well, I'm sure I've seen people talking about getting E3 flu as well, and people joke about like getting convention flu and stuff like that. But it is real. It is genuine. I mean, I've caught it from MCM London before going to Comic-Con. It happens. It really does happen, because, as you've said, it's thousands upon thousands of people crammed into an empty, into a room, a confined space, with heat, with bodily fluids, but without trying to be too grotesque,
graphic.
Yeah.
But
so it is a shame that it has been cancelled, but it is the right call.
On the positive side, it gives them. It seems like they're trying to reimagine what E3 could be. It gives them another year to do that, so that might actually work out better in the long run.
Hopefully, it goes along the game rules that a good game you can delay it because it will eventually be good. But a bad E3 could ruin it forever. So stick it in the oven. Let this whole crazy phase that we're going through at the moment pass over, hopefully sooner rather than later, and we can get back to resume normal scheduling on our gaming lives.
So speaking of normal scheduling, Chris.
Yeah, that transitions quite nicely into another event that was cancelled earlier in the year. We heard GDC was cancelled. They've set it in that the 23rd of March from 9 a.m. Pacific time is going to bring us over 10 hours of content from Google specifically for GDC. Now, we had a glance at this before the show, Richie, and it pretty much breaks down everything that they were going to do at GDC anyway. They're bringing how we brought Destiny to Stadia and a bunch of the other stories. It looks like they've took that content, as we very much predicted, and just digitalized it.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of what they've done behind the scenes is they've took the stage stuff that we're going to do and probably just recorded it and cut it into the videos. And this is literally just their GDC lineup. We talked about this a few weeks ago, that they were going to make this a digital thing. Well, no, we have it.
Yeah, it's funny because the reality is, for people watching at home on YouTube and stream services, is you could get someone on a stage, an empty stage, put the Stadia background or the Google background, GDC background up, get them to stand there, present. All you need would be a silhouette of cardboard cutout heads just to put across the top
and a laugh track.
Canned studio laughter from any American sitcom.
Canned clapping, round of applause.
Anything like that. Get a woo, something in that. Just someone shouting,
"You're awesome!"
Stadia, something like that. And put it out to the masses, and would you know? You wouldn't know any different, really, unless it'd come with that precursor filmed in front of a live studio audience. If you didn't have
guy just so they can say it.
Again, this is what we've been talking about for a while, and with all the rumors of E3, is this content doesn't need to be delivered. It's only for the press and the shareholders and the people at the event. The consumer audience, us, the many, many millions of people who acquire and consume this. We don't need to be there. We watch it the same format, whether or not it's happening live and in an audience or a giant hall. It doesn't.
Well, I don't know about you, Chris, but I certainly watch the Google Connect from my home on a computer. So I'm pretty sure I will probably watch the GDC event from home on my computer as well.
Yeah, there's no other way unless the tend to fly us out. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Cheap flights going at the moment, though.
Very cheap flights at the moment.
If you do want to get out there, it's.
I think it's very likely that it's not going to be. It's not going to have many people like watching. It's purely just from watching live. I mean, no. Let me elaborate on that.
Yeah.
In person is what I mean.
Live.
We're all going to be watching it live.
Well, I think the intent is that no one is in person.
Yeah.
So
but it's a good testing bed for showcasing it, tricking people into thinking it's like still the same, because
I don't think they probably will go into tricking people. I don't think they need to.
Oh, no, I don't mean it that way. I just think if they wanted to, it would seem no different from a consumer point of view.
Yeah, I do think there is almost a bit more magic that you can never truly capture when these things happen live on stage with just a crowd of enthusiasts. When you come up like, was it a couple of years ago when Bethesda their one more thing, I think it might have been E3, was Elder Scrolls 6, and it was just a shot of the environment that was beautiful, and just the way the energy of the crowd.
Oh, no.
You can't recreate that.
Definitely, and what we miss out as a result of everything that's happening is another year of memes within the gaming industry, don't we? We miss all of the opportunities of like, the controller battery ran out.
My body is ready.
They can bring. Who was it who brought a couch out? Was it Nintendo one year brought? There was one between the last. They just brought a couch and sat down as though they were in somebody's living room for that particular bit.
Yeah.
You do lose a lot of the humour, unfortunately, because it will be pre-recorded, it will be vetted. But it'll be scrutinised, and it'll be scripted, but more scripted in a way they can edit out any mistakes.
And like we've said before with it, it's going to be very much more specific to what they want to deliver, as opposed to having to like tailor it specifically for the audience. So when we're looking through the list of the focus talks, we've got the post-mortem on bringing Destiny to Stadia, which will be quite interesting to see the processes that are involved in the development. The one that's going to be quite big for a lot of people in the Stadia community at the moment is Stadia Games and Entertainment on creating for content creators. So developing games specifically with content creation in mind, because everybody enjoys creating things for YouTube, but it's how do you make a video game more interactive for the YouTuber, the person watching the video as well? What can content creators do with their game as powered by the developers in order to engage and involve their audience? And I think that's going to be a very interesting one to catch up with there. But there's the full list is available online. There's some brilliant talks there, and I would highly recommend anybody who is interested in Stadia and interested in the future of Stadia, particularly with the game side of things as well, definitely tune in, definitely check it out. Do we have a time for when it's starting yet?
Yes, it is 9 a.m. Pacific time, or 4 o'clock p.m. GMT, and that's on the 23rd of March.
Brilliant.
So one thing that all these cancellations across the globe have brought to my attention is that I spell cancel very differently to people in America with 2 L's.
That's a very British thing.
I've never known it to be any different until, there you go. I've noticed in every article that's came out this week, obviously from American publications, you spell it with 1 L, which I understand, because why add another one in there randomly? But it was that moment where I was thinking, have I been spelling it wrong? Then I had to Google it, and there's a very disparity between American and English spellings of things, as we all well know. But so
put the U back in colour.
Richie's campaign for the summer. Put the U back in colour.
Could that be Tom Sunday B for the second? Put the U back in colour.
I'm good this week. I'm fully
but to get back to the actual stories, all these cancellations and re-events and changes and moving to a more digital platform, I'm very curious what your 2 thoughts are on how it impacts Google Stadia plans. So now they're no longer stuck to a scheduled event or a timed event. We were all hoping they were going to go big at E3 this year, right? Now that rug's been pulled from under them, they once again need to reevaluate their plans for announcements and games and base and controller colors and Chromecast. Like everything now needs to be digitalized. And I was hoping E3 was going to be that platform to mix it up with the big boys, get on stage, have an hour-long segment, and bring it to life in the public eye of gamers out there who still don't know Stadia is really a thing. And now it's changed to a digital format. How do we think? Do we think stuff's going to be delayed? Do we think they're going to reassess it?
The way I probably would approach it is, because E3 shows tend to be a mixture of person on stage talking about the game and trailer stuff. So the trailer stuff's fine. You've already got that. I'd probably almost switch out the because it'd be difficult to do the on-stage talky bit. So maybe you bring in like as a developer interview, short like couple-minute developer interviews, and just sandwich them together and go, there you go, and you can just still just release this content, just repackage it slightly. I don't, in terms of people consuming the content, I don't think there's going to be a huge change. You're still going to get all the same information because Google have planned to get it out there. They will want it out there.
Do you think it's going to change their plans in terms of delay though? So if they were going to announce at GDC the information for base, which we're all expecting, like I can see on Twitter all the time that everyone who asks a question about when base is coming, it's a case of keep an eye on our social feeds. It's imminent in the coming months. Now those months are ticking away fast.
I've been predicting base will be the 1st of April, and I'm predicting it will be in the GDC show at the announcement.
Okay.
To me, it just makes sense to do it. Then you got your new financial year. It's time for base. Like people who's already had the pro subscriptions expired, so some people are already using Stadia base effectively.
Yeah.
It's just time to release it.
I'm still sort of in the mindset of thinking that while I do love the platform, I don't know if the game appeal is there yet for base to come out. I mean, we'll have Eternal, but so will every other platform. We've got Spitlings, which is, I love it. And we've got Guild at the moment. But other than that, every other game you can get on every other platform. So at the moment, I'm struggling to see what the attraction is going to be for base, really.
Well, the attraction for me is completely free.
But so is Steam.
Yeah, true. But the thing with Steam, with cloud gaming compared to PC gaming, it's hardware. Steam isn't truly free because you can buy a cheap £200 laptop and play Stadia and 1080p, 30 frames per second, no problems. If you've got a decent internet connection, can't do that with Steam.
No.
You have to have the hardware that matches with the games.
You're absolutely right. And
my desktop and my laptop could not run Doom Eternal. I don't think they could even run Doom 2016.
Now, the reason I was pushing you to that point was because I want people who are listening to realise that as well.
Yeah.
We all understand that and we all get it.
Yeah.
But sometimes people don't ask that question. They don't ask, well, what is the benefit of Stadia? Like, why should I when Steam, I could just go onto Steam. I could pay for Shadow, which is another streaming service at the moment that gives you access to a gaming PC.
I was from Sonic the Hedgehog.
I went with Doom, but I think a better example for me actually would be Borderlands 3, because this laptop I've got in front of me right now, if I install Borderlands 3 on Steam, I'd probably have to drop the settings right back because my laptop's old. It's just not good enough to run it. I can boot up Google Chrome now and just play.
Yeah,
it
is one of many benefits right there. But how does cancelling E3 and cancelling GDC affect Google's plans? I do think that they're going to have to organise some more of their own talks in a certain way. They need to be able to publish information, don't they? Do I see it having a massive impact on them? Probably not. Do I think they're probably going to be vocal within the community about their plans and so on? No. I still don't have faith at the moment that they're going to line up and give us regular, give us that rundown, that timeline of things that's going to happen.
I think that was my big hope, that E3 was gonna have to hold them to account to a strict schedule of you have this slot, this day, and just to look forward to a timed event that we know is locked in place, and we're going to get an hour of Stadia news. Now that's gone. Again, this could just be a shadow drop of a YouTube video on a random Tuesday afternoon.
And then it's lacking that hype build up. Yeah. I think for me, they need to probably hit the E3 window. Just keep the timelines the same if possible. But now you have to build the hype yourself.
Yeah.
You don't have the event to do it for you.
Yeah. I do feel like they should ride the train, like as you say, like they need to get onto the hype of E3. Yeah. And I'm hoping I want to be proven just to make this very clear again for listeners. I want to be proven wrong. Like I want Google and the Stadia team to show us, or to show me in particular, that even though these events are cancelled, I still want to see regular news. I don't think we're going to get it, but I want to be pleasantly surprised. That's what I'm looking for here.
If I can jump ahead a little bit, because it links. Google are currently actually hiring more community managers, so more people to be involved in that social side of things. This, to me, it's just a small story, but it shows, I think, that they are thinking in the right direction. They need a bigger team on this so they can answer more people's questions, get more this sort of content out. So, yeah, I think that is going in the right direction, but, I mean, the jobs listing are listed right now, but they're not... If they're people in place by the time E3 comes around, they're probably not going to be involved in E3 content.
Yeah, this is where my worry that the plan hasn't been in place yet, and we're going into just a few months out from what would have been E3. And this year we've had minimal interaction from community base and timelines and roadmaps of what as Stadia founders, we've all put our money, our hard-earned cash down to buy a Founders Edition. Everyone out there who's listening who's on Premiere or a Buddy Pass, or they're essentially playing Stadia any way, shape or form. I want to know what the rest of the year looks like for this platform I've invested in.
Yeah.
I can look to my PS4, my Switch, and I know what's coming.
Yeah.
Even though there's a PlayStation 5 on the horizon.
Switch you can't right now.
I mean, I could still have a good idea that it's going to come with some games by the end of the year.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing is just around the corner.
We know there's games coming, and I think Google have been bringing out games at a fairly swift pace since the turn of the year.
Yeah.
And what, it was 120 games that they were tracking.
Which we now know about 12 of them, technically.
Yeah. And that's tracking. I don't think that's all of them are going to be released, because tracking isn't guaranteed.
Tracking is a very ambiguous term.
It's a carefully selected term. And that means, to me, tracking is some of these deals aren't even in place yet.
We've got an indie studio 12 clicks from here. Let's track it.
Bear in mind, we would have already had GDC at this point, so there'd be announcements there.
Yeah.
And then the next one is wrapping up to E3. So us not knowing, GDC's delays has probably hampered it a bit, because it's meant a couple of extra weeks without us knowing, while Google configure that content.
We don't have a date for Panzer Dragoon yet. We don't have a date for Stacks on Stacks on Stacks.
These could have been E3 drops, not E3, GDC drops, and there might still be.
Yeah, I'm just sort of feeling like we're getting games that we're getting confirmed for a date in the future. So if we're looking to the future, let's say a title that we'll talk about later is coming out in April. If we've got these games that are announced and we know they're coming to Stadia, I'm less likely to think they're coming out at GDC and at the end of this month, because if they've announced an April game already, surely if those games were coming before, then they would have already been announced as to when they're coming. So they're not, in my opinion.
I don't think any new games coming this month now.
In town.
Unless they've already got an announced date. Yeah, unless they've already got an announced date.
Yeah.
Because again, I keep bringing up, it's that end of the financial year. That means a lot for these businesses. They're like, where do you want, what financial year do you want this money on?
Yeah. Well, but I mean, a lot of them might be trying to scramble to make up profits, so their fiscal year looks good overall. They're trying to make that last extra bit.
I wonder if that's why Doom Eternal is this year.
Yeah.
Because they just want to just get it in.
I think it will be. That's why I think, looking to the next few news stories, which we'll talk about in a minute, but I think Ubisoft as well are probably thinking the exact same thing. They want to up their numbers to help their market share, to help their stock levels.
Yeah, because a lot of their games got pushed back. If you think we should be playing in the next month or so, we would be playing Watch Dogs. In fact, Watch Dogs Legion should be playing. That should be a day-and-date AAA game we should be playing on Stadia right now. Yeah. We're not. Gods and Monsters was around now also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If we're talking delays, this is something that could impact things a lot. Not to getting games over with the flu that shall not be named means people are not going to work. That's going to delay things.
Yeah. It is.
A lot of companies are probably not willing to put dates on things because they don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So it's obviously the world's changed. Everything's been shook up. Some of us are working from home. It's a global change that I think everyone's.
It's a change to the way of life. It's a change to the way of life that we are not prepared for, but we should be able to work with.
Yeah. And playing games in the cloud, thankfully, can be done from isolation.
Yeah.
So we got some news announcements this week from, as you mentioned, Tom, Ubisoft doing God's work out there and bringing us some actual games to Stadia, AAA titles. Not day and date, obviously, we've knew about that for a while. But in terms of actual getting big titles out there, they've contributed more than anyone at this point.
Yeah.
I definitely think that. We got the announcement that The Crew 2 is finally coming to Stadia on March 25th.
Brilliant.
With the added caveat that it comes with Stream Connect as well.
Which is a fantastic feature. If you haven't already seen Stream Connect in works, basically, imagine you're playing a multiplayer game as part of a team, and you can physically see your teammate's perspective as a smaller window on your user interface. So for games in the Ubisoft world, we've seen it on Ghost Recon Breakpoint at the moment. It's been announced for The Crew 2. This is the sort of thing that I've said before. I would love to see Rainbow Six Siege hit Stadia, and to have Stream Connect with that would make the game so incredibly immersive as well.
Yeah, if like with Rainbow Six Siege, you have the drones which you can throw on the doors. If you can go, okay, there's two over there behind the couch, and you could see the couch the person's referring to because you got that chair. It would change the dynamic of the game. It would be in a way different. Change the way you communicate in that game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm guessing neither of you two have played The Crew 2 before.
No.
So I've never actually played a Ubisoft driving game. I don't think.
Was Burnout Ubisoft?
That's yeah.
All right, I've played Burnout.
Driver.
Drivers, that's a throwback.
That's a bit.
It's a big throwback.
I remember Driver 2. I had on 2 discs. It was one of those games when you open the case and go, "Oh."
Need for Speed is EA.
Yeah,
it is.
Keep throwing them at me, guys. I'll shoot them down.
Grid is Codemasters.
Grid is Codemasters.
No, but again, going with Ubisoft titles, I mean, they do things in a slightly different way to how a lot of people do it, and I think the Grid 2 could potentially, possibly be something I'll look into.
Grid 2 or The Crew 2?
The Crew 2. Sorry, I'm getting confused. I'm also thinking of the Division 2, which is going to be coming out on March 17th, so literally a couple of days from now.
Sequels en masse. And again, we mentioned it on last week's show, but if the price point is right for these games...
It's something that is annoying me about Google. Sometimes like, oh, you wait, okay, it's coming soon. Oh, by the way, it's coming next week, a week later, this is how much it's going to be. Just give us the information. Games are expensive. People need to plan for this stuff.
Yeah, that's maybe why they're all stacked for the end of the month, because people get paid near about then. But in terms of the Crew 2, it's obviously it's an expansion on the Crew 1 where you take your vehicles across the United States of America. What they introduced with the Crew 2 is you can switch seamlessly between different vehicles, so you can go from land to air to sea.
That was it. Yes, I remember that feature now.
Was that an E3 trailer?
It was an E3, yeah. So that it showed you seamlessly, very much like Grand Theft Auto when you jump between your three main protagonists. You jump from vehicle to vehicle to complete your race, your mission. It was actually, to say Grand Theft Auto again, it was very similar to some of the online missions where you fly a plane to go through all the loops to complete checkpoints for your race, and then you'll jump out of your plane and you fall in the car. And I think Grand Theft Auto kind of almost pioneered that with their online mechanic many, many years ago. But the Crew 2 doubles down on that across it, like I said, land, sea, and air, and brings it all together. And it's an interesting one because I've seen the trailers. I appreciate the game looks beautiful, but it's one of those, I've never played a racing Ubisoft game. Played Gran Turismo, played Grand Theft Auto, played Need for Speed, and Grid and other like, but I can't visualize what the controls. I'm sure they're not too different, but is it more arcadey, I presume, as opposed to simulation racing?
I don't know. To be honest, driving games are not really up my street, so I don't really pay that much attention to them. Yeah.
I like a driving game if it's got an arcade feel to it, if it's got like the destruction element, like thinking back, PlayStation 1, like Destruction Derby, those kinds of games, like looking back at that sort of thing. That's the kind of thing
stuff like that. Mario Kart is a good.
Yeah,
it is a driving game.
It is. But what I'm talking about is like real vehicles with destruction elements,
Mario
like
Kart is real
crashing.
True, yeah. not legal road vehicles.
We've all seen the videos from like Tokyo of people driving around in Mario Kart.
That's true. So yeah, in regards to the Crew, so what I do appreciate is when you look at the Crew blog that was posted on Ubisoft's site, is they actually drill down into how it was like customized and tweaked to make it fit Stadia much, much better. So what I do appreciate is they've done an overhaul of the user interface, text, graphics, associated features have been reworked for smaller size screens for those of us who want to play it on the go. on the mobile devices. They've adapted it for each platform that you're playing on, and they've also made a point of mentioning that you can play it with your PS4, Xbox, Switch controller, keyboard and mouse, and obviously the Google Stadia controller as well. And it's nice to see. I know we all know Ubisoft's played well with Stadia, but for them to champion these features within their own personal forums is huge. And the biggest takeaway from that, as we mentioned there, is Stream Connect.
Mhm.
That could be fantastic in an open world racing game where you're out there with your friends in a multitude of vehicles. Me being able to see Tom in his biplane. I was going to say a biplane.
My boat.
So you're on a boat. Richie's in a plane. I'm on the ground in a lovely Nissan Skyline or something like that.
Yeah.
Tearing it up, and we're all trying to get raced to one destination, almost like Top Gear-esque.
I'm just drinking sangria on my boat out of the sea.
No, it's
International waters.
I'm drinking sangria in my plane.
That is dangerous.
Don't drink and fly.
Don't drink and do any large mechanical movements.
Operate any large mechanical vehicles.
But again,
machinery.
Stuff with the crew, because the Stadia community is almost, I don't want to say starved, but I'm definitely keen to try something new out. If the price point comes in sweet for the Division 2, the Crew 2, what was it, Grid 2, Tom, you're hoping for to be announced?
Grid 2 will come out eventually. Make it happen,
It probably
Codemasters.
will.
Make it happen.
I just think it's nice to see a publisher and a developer actually going making tweaks to the game to suit the platform rather than just going to a straight port. Because no one would complain if it was just a straight port.
Oh, definitely not.
But that's where I think Ubisoft are working really well with Google at the moment, is that a lot of the games they're releasing, and let's be honest, most of the titles that are coming out on Stadia at the moment are Ubisoft titles, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
But they are looking at the titles, and they're looking at how they can adapt it for the way the system works.
It makes me excited for the next round of Ubisoft games because they're clearly taking old titles and experimenting with the new technology that they've got available too.
Yeah, and like I say, if they can make Siege happen, that I think alone
Siege
will attract a lot of people.
It's had such a long lifespan on PlayStation and Xbox. It'd be weird to not see it come across.
It's interesting what they can bring to their single player games too. So for those who remember playing Assassin's Creed Unity back last generation, that had was it last generation or that was this gen still? Unity was the first one. It was the first one on it. Yeah. So Black Flag was cross-platform. This was the first one on PS4 and Xbox. So to see Assassin's Creed rumored to be Ragnarok have some kind of brotherhood dynamic where I can play with Tom and Richie, and I can see your assassins and where you're at within a stronghold, and we can synchronize our takedowns and pick off people.
Well, it's got that YouTube feature they're bringing in where you could basically just be watching someone stream live on YouTube and just jump into their game instantly. That's where that would be awesome. You can just call me up, can you help me with this? Jump on, bang in.
Even then, with the talk of the scope of the world size they're talking about with Ragnarok as well, again, it's a rumoured name. We assume it's probably going to stick at this point. But with the size of the open worlds that they're looking to actually include in this, with the likes of the UK, Scandinavia, Western Europe, that's a huge map. That is a huge, huge map. So if we could literally just be able to jump into a game, be able to operate in your own little area, but still being able to see where people are in the world as well, and be able to communicate through not just what the player sees, but even through their whatever their version of the Eagle from Odyssey would be. So being able to scout out areas too would be really useful.
I think there's a lot of exciting things, and for anyone who's also played Far Cry, which is another Ubisoft title, they've done that already in terms of you can play cooperatively with somebody else, and they drop into your world, your campaign, and just help you out. They get their own group of weapons, they get their own collectibles, their own resources. But if you need them, you just call upon them, and they can drop in. You do have to stay within a certain parameter distance, which can be a bit frustrating because as soon as you go too far, you snap back to their location, just teleportation style. But I think with the power of Stadia and that ability to have so many people, the Assassin's Creed game, every time I need help, I just hit L1. And if you are playing that game, you get a notification saying, "Do you want to help Chris out? He's getting destroyed over here." I'll go help out. And you drop in from the top of a building, teleportation style.
Geronimo!
You hear that eagle, like classic Assassin's Creed eagle sound effect. Tom soundboard over there. It's great.
Have, mechanical mechanics like that. We could jump in. It was weird.
So Dark Souls had summoning mechanics. So in the world of Dark Souls, you had phantoms showing you where people had died, so you can see what may have happened in certain situations. You could be invaded by people, or you could actually put down a summoning stone, like mark the floor, and if somebody walked over to that, they could join your world, which
you can read it as well. Can you? Little memos,
little messages you can leave around the world.
Trolls had some fun with that.
Preset text, so you can definitely write.
Oh, here's a save point, boss.
Don't forget to wash your hands,
boss.
But yeah, so I think massive credit to Ubisoft bringing more titles across the Stadia. If the price is right, I will certainly be intrigued to play The Crew 2. It's been a long time since I've jumped into a...
Speaking of prices being right, Chris.
What?
Moving on to our next game.
Yes. So, Tom, for that joke, you do not pass go. You do not collect £200.
Go straight to jail.
Oh, interesting one. I know last week I complained about the exchange rate. In Monopoly, does the do not pass go, do not collect £200? Is that exchanged perfectly to $200?
It is. It's $200.
Well, we're being screwed over.
No, because if you pass go and collect $200, you're getting more money than the Americans if they're getting $200. We're actually making our money back.
Let's be fair, it's one of different skin on the board game.
No, it is actually. I remember the first time as a child I realised that Monopoly didn't always have Mayfair, Old Kent Road, Houston, and all. And
it's when you're playing the Star Wars. Where's Park Lane?
Yeah, Park Lane is notoriously a Sith homeworld. That's where they all come from. Rule of two: if you've got Mayfair and
see, for me growing up with Monopoly, I had the Simpsons Monopoly. So the Simpsons Monopoly had like the nuclear power plant, like the Springfield power plant. I was like, what's Mayfair? What's Mayfair? Where's Mayfair?
Yeah, what is it? Does anyone know what the American one is?
I assume it might be something like Times Square, perhaps, or
could be. I don't know.
Unless it has some sort of big.
There's not in the comments.
To be fair, at this point, there was probably a Monopoly for every single state individually, as there is for every franchise.
You can get Monopoly for different cities in the UK now. There's Birmingham, Manchester. There's London anyway. Wherever I'm sure there's a Newcastle. I'm sure there'll be like the big cities around the country. Leeds, York. You know.
Wow, that is so interesting. But actually, speaking of, I'm thinking of we're talking about
we are talking about Monopoly here because it's coming to Stadia.
We're not just going off on a board game tangent because we've had no game announcements. We're going back to board games next week on Stadia. Chess.
It'd be interesting. Now we're talking about different versions. Will this have different versions? Because as I said, it's basically just a skin, so I don't think it'd be that hard.
That is true.
You could even just have that horrible word, DLC.
Does the Monopoly...
You could have different skins as paid DLC, so you could start off with just maybe the UK and the American versions as your base ones. But if you want the Star Wars one, okay, it's like $5.
Yeah. I'd like the E3 edition of
Stadia. Maybe not
$5,
that's probably a bit steep, really. But,
with the E3 edition of Stadia, you've got all the booths.
Everywhere's closed.
You've got all the booths. You've got the train stations can be like the restrooms, and you just basically have to acquire them all.
Instead of go to jail as coronavirus.
Figure it out, Tom?
Yeah, I'm just having a quick look online. So it actually looks like the US version has very almost like generic name places. So their Mayfair is actually just called Boardwalk.
That is a well-known place, I think, in California.
Well, their Park Lane is just called Park Place.
That might be, but I think isn't the Boardwalk? I think isn't like California's like well known. Like
there's one in Disney World.
Yeah,
Boardwalk Empire's a thing.
Yeah, isn't like.
I just find it very interesting to see how like the design choices. So, for example, the Old Kent Road is Mediterranean Avenue.
That doesn't sound.
That probably means
they sound like old folks' homes.
Well, like
sorry, Margaret, Mediterranean Avenue.
Marvin Gardens. I think that's made up. New York Avenue, Tennessee Avenue, St. James Place.
These probably mean a lot to certain people, but
I think they are generic.
There might be a major. They might have went round each individual state and took like a major street or something from
maybe.
A lot
of them do seem to be named after the states as well. So when you get around to the red section, you can go on down and find the Colonel in Kentucky Avenue, or you can head on over to Indiana Avenue or Illinois Avenue.
Yeah,
they're all avenues.
I
think that's pretty generic, but it's interesting. But yeah, video game. I would like to see it include traditional London Monopoly style layout with old Monopoly guy speaking in a British accent, talking over people and say, "You do not pass go," kind of thing.
You got to lean into it.
Yeah.
It's like it's Monopoly. You know
Go
what
straight
you're getting.
to jail.
Don't pretend to be something you're not.
Yeah, speaking of the English Monopoly guy, got a question for you. It's really, really deep, thoughtful question. I need your insight into, gentlemen.
Go on.
Is the Monopoly guy the same as the Pringles guy?
What, an older version of him?
Is it his dad?
It's the same guy. He made his money selling crisps, and now he buys up places in London.
It's crunch time, baby.
Because without looking, can you see the Pringles guy
Yeah.
and then the Monopoly guy?
Doesn't the Pringles guy have a moustache?
Doesn't the Monopoly guy? Does the Monopoly guy have a moustache?
So here's an interesting one. If you
No.
look for before looking, Tom, the Monopoly guy, does he have a monocle?
No.
Yes or no? No?
Yes.
Because this is one of them Mandela effect
Yeah, it's a
things
Mandela effect thing.
where I don't think he has a monocle, but a lot of people think he does.
Yeah.
Tom quickly, Monopoly man.
Oh yeah, I've got to do research. I've got to
Yeah.
figure this out now.
I think there might have been an episode of
Monopoly.
The Simpsons where he was in and he put a monocle on or something.
Oh, no, he does not have a monocle, but he definitely has a moustache.
All right.
It's a white Colonel
He
Sanders.
is the Pringles guy without the top hat, so Sans top hat.
Yeah, I told you. He made his money selling Pringles, and now he and now he buys the places in London.
Wow.
The Pringles man also has a mustache, no monocle.
Yeah.
They're the same, just without a top
I'm
hat.
trying to find out whether the Monopoly guy wears a bow tie. If he's got a bow tie, he's got a tux. Monopoly man.
So anyone listening for your
He
presents,
does! He has a bow
Of
tie!
course he does. He's a traditional guy.
he's a businessman.
Yeah.
He's a tycoon.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the same
A
person.
modern guy would
Confirmed,
probably be open collar.
confirmed right here. I'm going to get my tinfoil hat now. Pringles guy and Monopoly guy are the same. They're not. It's not father and son. It's literally the aging process. So he makes his money. He
as I
makes
said,
his
made his
money.
money selling crisps.
Yeah. So, quick question then. Monopoly.
Yeah.
Gonna get it?
Depending on the price,
Yeah.
once again, I don't own Monopoly. I feel like I did buy it digitally somewhere back in the day,
You know
possibly on
I
PS3.
think it'd be
But
great fun for couch co.
Yeah. It's definitely the kind of title that I want to see more of these like sort of traditional board game / party games on Stadia, because this is the kind of thing I want to take to my family. Sit down, we can all sit down
This is
and play.
one thing I will say for Monopoly that they have to do that Trials Rising doesn't. That combination of couch and online co-op.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's quite annoying where if you can't, with Trials, you can only have, we three were playing last night, but we couldn't get a guest in on to play with us because it just doesn't allow for us.
Yeah.
Which could be kind of annoying. Like, it's just let me invite someone in. Like,
Yeah.
So I'd like to see that on Monopoly.
yeah, I think it's a great family game all around. It's nice to see a different portfolio come to Stadia. I think that's quite decent. Again, is it Ubisoft as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Because
Yeah.
they own
Ubisoft Hasbro, they've got the
Yeah.
Hasbro rights for it.
Hasbro.
Yeah, definitely. So I think with that in mind, we should move on to the next story, because I think this is quite a big one.
Yeah, so speaking of games like Monopoly running at the most highest fidelity frame rate, graphics, and pushing Stadia to its absolute limits, that brings us over to the next big story of the week, which was Doom Eternal is not running at 4K on Stadia. Now, this has been a big controversy. I've seen a lot of good old journalism pick up on that and jump on the Stadia hate bandwagon. Yeah. Once again, any given opportunity to do that. If only their focus was on the Pringles and Monopoly scandal that's going on in the world right now. We need to get to the bottom of this. But no, they'd rather focus on, once again, taking what little bits they can. Now, to its credit, the story is essentially id Software have came out and said that Doom Eternal, which was promised back on the Stadia GDC announcement almost a year ago today, that it was going to be running at true 4K on Stadia. The reality, gentlemen, is that is not the case, and they've came out in a statement and said it runs at a lesser graphic fidelity. But would either of you two like to expand on the science behind it?
Can I just touch on the article first? Because this quite annoyed me, because I know that it came out and there's big thing for Stadia. It's like, oh yeah, it's going to be running 4K, it's going to be amazing. And then they've had to step back on that. My issue was the way some of the articles I've read have framed it. They framed it as this as a failure for Stadia. I don't necessarily think that's the case. And when you look actually into the breakdown, it's performing exactly the same as Xbox One and better than PS4 Pro. The only way you can get this game running 4K is on with the absolute beefy PC.
Yeah, I think somebody actually crunched the numbers in terms of the cost for
I
it.
did.
And
I actually did myself.
what did you come out at?
You're looking at least £1,500
Yeah, exactly.
plus
And
to be able to play 4K.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people have to consider. We know there are people out there who have gaming PCs, high-end spec and so on, who do invest that kind of money. And brilliant, that's fantastic for you guys. I'm sure you'll really enjoy the crispness of 4K resolution there. But the reality is in the world that not a lot of people do. And I think that the most annoying thing about this news story for me is the fact that people have been pointing the finger at Stadia.
Yeah, it's your fault it doesn't run at 4K.
Bear in mind that it was id Software who made the promise and have failed to deliver.
Mm-hmm.
So why the blame on Stadia? Again, that's a question I'm putting out to the general public.
That was my point, is like, you're framing this argument as a failure of Stadia. I just don't think it is.
No.
Like, this is the platform. It's up to the developers to optimize their games for it.
Yeah.
I'm sure Stadia is annoying as everyone else.
So, just to break it down a little bit, Chris, you were asking in terms of like the actual tech behind it, really. What we have is that Stadia will be running Doom Eternal at 1800p at 16 frames per second, upscaled to 2160. So what we have there is we essentially have what is like 3.5K resolution that's going to be stretched up to 4K. Now, bear in mind a couple of things here. One, you need a 4K monitor to actually see that, to see the results of it. You have a 1080p monitor, it's just going to take the 4K screen and squish it down. So you're not going to be able to see the difference with it, really. But what we're talking about is we're talking about the number of visible pixels you can see on a screen. So what we're talking about there is we're actually making slight improvements. I say slight, it is actually, for what it's worth, it is quite a big difference in the total number of pixels that are visible on a screen, but it just adds a crispness to it, more clarity, more depth of color and so on to a video game. So it will look nicer in 4K. But even then, if you're taking that down and squashing it into a 1080p monitor, you're not going to be able to fully appreciate that. It's only on bigger screens that you would respect it more, because it would be less pixelated, less blurry.
It's similar if you watch the YouTube video on your living room television as opposed to on your phone. It's going to seem better because it's on a smaller screen.
Absolutely
your eyes actually adjust to thinking a sharper image because it's smaller.
Absolutely right.
I generally don't think anyone's going to notice the difference between about 3.5K and 4K for this game, because it's not just about pixel count. Sometimes it is about the quality of the textures.
Yeah.
And if the textures, and this game looks absolutely stunning in 1080p.
So I think
I just don't think you're going to notice when you're playing that.
the people who are going to notice are the people with 4K TVs. And I know there are people out there at the moment who are buying 4K TVs. That's sort of where people are
The
currently
monopoly, man.
Yeah.
If I was buying a TV, I'll be going for 4K.
Now, if you were buying a 4K TV and you were playing Stadia on 4K, on Pro, and you were playing Doom Eternal, what you would see is, this is where I can see the issue being slightly. And again, it's not Stadia's fault. This is id promising and failing to deliver.
True 4K.
But true 4K. You would get arguably 3.5K, 1800p. It's not 1080p, it's 1800p. It's not a typo. 1800p stretched up to 4K. Now, the result of stretching up may make it look slightly blurry or slightly pixelated, because you can always take an image and shrink it down without losing quality, but stretching it up, I'm sure you've done it in
Microsoft Paint.
You've taken a picture and stretched it, and it goes pixelated.
Yeah, I do it every week
I hit the desk
when I'm on
anger.
Again, this is why I bring up the quality of the textures, because Bethesda, bear in mind, this game was delayed, and this is probably the reason why. I would be surprised if this wasn't a big part of the reason why. They've probably now optimized it for that stretching the textures.
It wouldn't be possible. It's literally like taking an image and just stretching it out. You will see the blurs, you will see the gaps in the textures.
If you do want an example of that, go play Metro Exodus, which was your free pro game for February, because there's a lot of textures, smaller details that was stretched out. For example, we played it last night, and there was a few jars on the shelf. There were 2
moments where the camera forced you to look at bad textures, and after that, once you've noticed it, you're looking for it.
Yeah. So my question, regardless of all the pixel quality necessarily, Doom, I'm right in thinking, having not played 2016 this year, I know you've finished it, it's supposed to be played at a fast pace. So at no point should you really be standing that still to notice
I think frame rate is much more important to this than.
But you're supposed to be on the move, constantly killing. Like from the demonstrations I've seen, it's non-stop action. I don't think I'm going to have time to. It's going to look gorgeous. My eyeballs are going to consume it the best they're capable. But
because of the nature of the game, it is frantic at times. But because of that, they has to have these bit moments of levity where the game does slow.
Yeah,
it's like any game. You go through these cycles where you have high, fast action paces. Then you have like when you're fighting things in combat. Then you'll go to okay, the fight's over. I can now go explore this area,
pacing,
and then you might have a bit of a platformer section or a bit of a story section, and you'll go again, and you go through these things.
Yeah, because I'm always interested with like we've just spoke about racing games, but I remember some of the tech conversations around the older Need for Speed games and Gran Turismo is because those games are played at high pace. The texture mapping that they do is actually very different from a traditional game where you stood still and you're able to look at everything because you're supposed to be bombing past that 120, 30 miles an hour, if not higher. The textures aren't necessarily detailed in the same way they would be in a traditional game because they're designed to be almost emotion blurred out as you play through the level. And I'd imagine Doom does a lot of that kind of rendering where you don't need to see everything in its highest detail because you're just zipping past it.
Yeah, it's running at 60 FPS, so you'll get that experience there. Just to put a number on it as well. So if you actually take the resolution and look at the amount of pixels that can be represented there, the difference between running at 1800p, which just to clarify, that's what's known as Quad HD Plus. It's actually the step down from 4K. You go from 1080p, you go up to Ultra HD. You've got Ultra HD Plus.
That's your grid of rectangles you see in the television shops, isn't it?
It is. The difference between Quad HD Plus or 1800p and 2160p or 4K Ultra HD is it's about 2.5 million pixels. That the difference in terms of what can be represented and what will not be there as a result of it. So what you're doing is you're going to take that image, stretch it up, and the gaps between those 2.5 million pixels will be generated by an algorithm basically to say, this is what I think it should be, which means it won't be a true representation, but it is far better than doing 1080p and upscaling it, which does put it on par with the Xbox One X in terms of the visual fidelity that you're going to see as a result of it. Granted, it's not what it promised us initially, which got a lot of people hyped. But it will still be the second best place, tied second, I should say, along with Xbox One X.
Yeah. I think they've probably, in terms of the optimization of the game, focused more on making sure that frame rate is right. And well, just probably Stadia might not actually just be quite as powerful. As I mentioned, you're looking for over £1,500 to get a PC that can run this game in 4K, 60 frames per second. That's not even like 120. You need a lot of power. And that's before you have cloud gaming. So I always think it's going to have a bit of a downgrade compared to native playing.
Yeah. All right. Let me put it into perspective for you for just a moment, okay? Currently, I know we said we weren't going to talk about it, but talking about the pandemic that's going on in the world at the moment, there's been stupid mass buying of things like hand sanitizer and toilet roll, okay? Blaming Stadia for its failure to deliver a 4K is the equivalent of you going up to your local supermarket, going to the checkout operator and saying to them, why the fuck do you not have any toilet roll? It's not their fault.
Yeah, Bob from Wyoming.
Yeah, it's not their fault that their supplier hasn't given them enough, for example. Okay? It's not a fault of Stadia's. And this is what frustrates me. Again, people might sit there and listen to the podcast and say, oh yeah, but you're just Stadia fanboys. Oh, look, the Stadia fanboys are coming and talking about this. But you can't point the finger at Stadia for this because Stadia are not developing the game. This isn't a game by Stadia Games and Entertainment. This is a game by id Software.
Yeah, it'd be the same case. So in a world where Stadia doesn't exist, this game would be pushing Xbox One for, guess what? Last summer, come out, Xbox One will run Doom Eternal at true 4K. Yeah. Here we go. Fast forward another year, doesn't happen. Will people be blaming Xbox as much as they are Stadia right now?
Probably not.
No.
I don't think it's even that much of a conversation. It's all the case. Okay, because games sometimes overpromise and underdeliver. It happens. I think this is just one of these examples. the thing that was like Thomas touched on, I've already mentioned, the thing that really irritated me is a lot of journalists are framing this as a failure of Stadia.
And the
I've read articles that didn't even mention the Xbox or PlayStation versions. Like, so they're just saying, "Oh, Stadia's failing to deliver on bringing this to 4K." Like, they didn't make the game. This is the platform. You need to make the game for the platform.
Yeah.
It's like, as I said as well, it runs the same as the Xbox One version and better than the PS4 Pro version.
Yeah. And how much do you have to fork out for a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox? And I tell you what, it ain't coming to Nintendo Switch.
It probably is, you know.
Nah.
Eventually. I think.
Will that be in true 4K?
No.
Will that
It'd be true 720p.
30 frames per second.
It'd be true 720p, 30 frames per second.
But
it'll be fine.
What I'm getting at is I honestly don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I have not looked at a game this generation and thought it looks ugly.
Yeah.
So
Again,
I'm not one of the... well,
Metal is actually... It's actually a very beautiful game with some...
In parts.
With some unfortunate textures in there.
It's a dirty diamond is what it is.
Yeah.
It's an unpolished diamond. It needed to be cleaned up around the edges for some places, but there were some beautiful things we saw in Metro Exodus.
But I don't think it's as important as the news media would like to make out. And again, it's just an opportunity to jump on the bandwagon, get some clicks because everyone likes to do that.
I would say like one final point on this before I'm done with this point is that I do see where some people are coming from, because the problem is the communication that we're getting from people. Like even Phil Harrison himself tweeted out saying that, like, yes, every game on Stadia will come with 4K resolution from launch, and we know they haven't delivered from that. So it's when we have that sort of message coming from the head of the team, essentially, that does dirty the water a little bit.
Yeah.
But we have to move past that. We have to move and accept the fact that that was a bit of a lie. We know people out there want to hold Stadia responsible for that, but this isn't something that they should be held responsible for.
Yeah.
And that's my final point on it.
It's software. Get your shit together. Anyway, moving on to the final few news stories of the week. We've got a new Chromecast stick is rumoured to be in the making. So the rumour we've got over on a lot of tech websites picked up this week. I saw some rough ideas of it, but essentially we're getting a new Chromecast Ultra that's going to come with Android TV built into it, and also a remote similar to the Amazon Fire Sticks, which in essence means, in my opinion, it means they're going to have the ability to put Stadia almost like there is an icon on people's home tabs along with Disney Plus, Netflix, Amazon, and it just makes it a bit more accessible. So again, I don't think it's being confirmed by Google, but just as a nice quick story, I think, they're iterating on what already works perfectly fine. I've used Chromecast for years.
People are watching the actual patent or the actual the files themselves. What am I trying to even say here? And the actual design of it, the specs of it are actually being essentially have to go through a process of being checked by certifications and so on. And I think people have been looking there to identify like what is happening with it. I noticed a couple of people on the official Stadia Discord were talking about the new Chromecast Ultra or the new Chromecast when it was coming out, and were saying that it looks like certain features are not going to be included as standard. Whether that changes, who knows? And what we mean with that is certain methods of connectivity over Wi-Fi, certain ranges. But we will see. Like I say, it's all speculation at this point. As soon as we find out more on it, we'll certainly report on it. But for now, all we know is there is going to be potentially a new Chromecast coming.
Yeah, codename Sabrina.
Codename Sabrina.
Teenage witch.
What is Melissa Joan Hart up to nowadays?
Making Chromecasts.
Playing Monopoly. Making Chromecasts and playing Monopoly. But yeah, just a nice little story there that's rumoured, so hopefully we'll get some more.
It's nice to know new toys are coming out.
New toys are always coming out. Speaking of things coming out, Richie, we've also got Steamwell Dig and Steamwell Heist have now joined two other twin brothers in the Stadia catalogue library.
Quest.
Yeah, Dig 2 and Quest. So we've now got 4 Steamwell games of the tracked 120 that have hit Stadia. Obviously, we've all jumped in and played our free pro games for March.
Yeah.
We've enjoyed them in different ways.
You've been playing a lot of Dig 2, haven't you? I've been playing a lot of Quest, so we've got you covered.
I played Dig 2. I have no intention of going back to Dig 1 now. I don't feel like... It's this backwards, like
it's
Doom 2016 coming out after Eternal by the looks of it now.
Yeah.
I'm now no longer interested in going to play Doom.
But if it was a pro game,
If it was a pro game, I'd probably play it. But then would that hamper me buying Doom Eternal potentially if I'm considering that? I know Steam World came out $7.99, was it? So it's a acceptable price point. $6.99.
Yeah.
Swings and
It still doesn't encourage me anymore because I've got the sequel sat there free.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but I suppose, again, bigger picture, once people jump into Stadia many months from now with this, they're probably going to buy that for cheap.
Yeah.
I'd just be curious why they went for Dig 2 for the pro game and not Dig. It feels like
smart. I wouldn't feel it.
It feels smart the other way around because you're more likely to play Dig. I really enjoyed that. I'll play Dig.
Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from, but I think the developers at this point may have just been like, look, we know Dig is an older title. We've got Dig 2. Let's try to make profit on... I mean, we're not actually making profit on Dig 2 anyway, but
Google might have different monetary amounts.
It can be reputation. If Dig 2 is objectively a better game, then you give people the better game, because then they're more likely to go, oh, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I'm really
if people like Dig, I've not played Dig, if it's feel like it's aging a bit, it's not quite there. It put you off playing the other titles.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of aging, one of the final stories of the week, we got Rock of Ages 3 to be released on the 2nd of June.
Yeah.
Have either of you two played a Rock of Ages game?
No, I've watched the movie.
So, nothing to do with it.
No.
Yeah. So, I remember playing Rock of Ages 1. It was a free PlayStation Plus game way back on the PlayStation 3. And from what the original was, essentially you were a boulder. And there's a lot of puns regarding rocks and sedimentary and porous and all the other types of rocks you can get. And you roll from start to finish like a giant marble. And the rock can jump, by the way. It's got a jump ability.
Of course.
Over objects. I believe on the original game you went through like Roman catapults and buildings, and you had to basically reach the finish line.
Isn't that basically a tower defense?
No, I mean the original was you chose your rock type, you rolled down a hill against the
metamorphic,
against the competition, and had to get the best time and either avoid obstacles, a bit like Olympic skiing when they go down and avoid
I have to say I'm quite fascinated by Rock of Ages 3 because it looks a little bit like a mixture of Marble Madness meets Katamari Damacy a little bit, but at the same time it looks like it's got a multiplayer mechanic where you can play competitively against a friend, where you are the rock trying to navigate it while your friend or person you're playing with is actually building the course ahead of you. So
in real time.
So that could be quite fun.
Yeah.
So
that's a streaming perspective.
So what Richie said about tower defense, by the looks of it, the third game in the series, the much beloved series, not many have heard of. Yeah, make or break. It sounds like a combination. Definitely going to be a fun couch co-op one.
Yeah,
take turns with your friends, piss them off, put gates, barriers. By the looks of that video, Tom, there's a lion attacking the ball.
It looks like there's a hot air balloon with a lion roped to the bottom of it, and the lion just latches onto the ball to essentially piss him off. He also looks like he's hit a cow at the start of it. He's got a cow attached to him.
Yeah, so, we've all played with marbles at some point in our life, whether we've lost them yet or not. But another game coming to Stadia. I don't even know who makes it.
Rock of Ages 3 is made and developed by Ace Team and Giant Monkey Robot. The Ace Team, also known for
Never heard
Rock of Ages.
Rock of Ages 2.
Okay, Abe's Odyssey.
Second Pebble.
Oh, Odyssey. Okay.
Xenoclash as well.
Xenoclash.
So an indie studio, would we say?
Developing. Oh, sorry, not Abe's Odyssey. Abyss Odyssey. I got that completely. I was going to say, because that was Oddworld, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Abe's Odyssey.
Actually made a noise from Oddworld. New.
Yeah, I was going to say Abe's Odyssey is Oddworld. So
definitely.
I botched that. Abyss Odyssey. This is the problem when you have games that are named very similar to others.
I mean, Outer Wilds and Outer Worlds.
Outer Wilds.
Both come out pretty much the same time.
And Rock of Ages and the movie Rock of Ages and the musical Rock of Ages.
So confused. Yeah. The Crew 2 and the Division 2.
Oh, the Grid
2.
Just to bring it full circle.
Tomb Raider
2. Tomb Raider 2, yeah, so many sequels.
Yeah.
But, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of episode 25 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. As we mentioned at the top of the show, we've had a lot of content drop over on our YouTube channel this week, so we really would appreciate if you took some time to check out our Tomb Raider Definitive Let's Play, which is now on its final hurdles. We have mixed up the quality of the stream a little bit. We didn't actually mention the story. We were going to get onto it with the 4K Doom Eternal story, but we recorded about 2 hours of content, 2 weekly episodes, and upon watching it back, the frame rate, because of id Software, was broken and it was slow, and we basically had sent Tom into meltdown panic mode, thinking we wasted our time and we all had to start from scratch. It turned out he was just watching the video back in Windows Media Player, which does not like video footage, apparently.
Yeah, Windows Media Player doesn't like media.
So after a brief panic, we switched over to a different media player, and it was fine.
Yeah.
We've salvaged it as Lara Croft would herself.
The thing is, we're watching this just before about recording another few episodes, and it's like, oh no.
It was one of those moments, but I think collectively we finished it, we enjoyed it, and we'd love you to go check it out. We have some brilliant laughs, some brilliant shock moments. We jumped a few times, I think we got scared. We coined a catchphrase for Lara, which I'm sure you'll appreciate. So yeah, jump over, check that out on our YouTube channel. Remember to follow us over on Twitch, give us a like and a subscribe to keep in the loop with all of our news. We do have a lot of stuff planned over the next coming weeks, and more importantly, we want you, the community, to get in touch with us more. So by all means, reach out to us through Twitter, through our personal accounts. Drop
Facebook group.
Facebook group is definitely there. We'll accept you into the community. We basically just want more engagement. Talk to us. Let us know what your thoughts are, what you want us to do in the future going forward. We are here essentially to make stuff for your benefit. We started off doing it for our own benefit, and now we've come to realise that there's hundreds of you tuning in every week and listen to our voices. So thank you once again for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show. My name's been Chris.
I've been Tom.
I've been Richie.
We've been Sounds of Stadia. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.
Bye.